Creative Living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Thanks so much for joining me today for Creative Living. We're going to share some quick and delicious recipes, show how to work with stretchy fleece fabric, and talk about how to get children interested in baking. One of my guests today is Connie Moyers, and she's going to show how to cook salmon with salsa, make a pesto pizza, and prepare macaroni salad. She represents California King Salmon and Rhodes Frozen Rolls, and she lives in Clovis, New Mexico. Another guest is Claire Rowley, and she's the president of Creative Feet, and she's going to demonstrate how to cut polar fleece using stick and rinse tape. Then she'll show how to quickly finish the edge of this stretchy fabric using her sequins and ribbon presser foot. Claire is from Prescott Valley, Arizona. My first guest today is Cindy Falk, and she's the nutrition educator for the Kansas Wheat Commission in Manhattan, Kansas. Cindy teaches children of all ages how to bake bread. She's going to demonstrate a couple of recipes that kids really like to make: tortillas in a bag and bread in a bag. Cindy, it's really nice to have you here, and I was so glad we were going to do a segment on teaching children to learn to cook and bake at an early age, because I know I learned early when I was in 4-H, and I think if you do learn those skills as a young person, it stays with you your whole life.
That's exactly right. And my grandmother and mother taught me how to cook and bake, and I've taught my daughters, so it's a lifetime skill that we need to pass on.
And our sons, too.
Yes.
My sons are better cooks than my daughter. And you're going to do a recipe that the kids love to prepare.
Yes. You know, over the years, of course, we've been in a lot of classrooms, and I just love to go into a classroom and make these tortillas. They're made in a bag, so
not much mess, too.
Not much mess. And you can teach measuring. They can level off ingredients, so you're teaching them about cooking and cooking skills. Plus, they have to listen and pay attention and follow directions. And so we have some all-purpose flour, baking powder. No, it's easy for younger ones to use because we're not working with yeast. We're just working with baking powder, a little bit of shortening, and then just like you're doing. It is fun, isn't it? And then they'll add the water and form a dough.
And keep kneading it in the bag.
They'll keep kneading it in a bag. Isn't that simple? They love that activity.
Oh, yeah.
And then
once it's kneaded,
they can work in teams and roll out tortillas then. And today I'm using half whole wheat flour in my tortilla, and that's a real advantage of making these tortillas is you can make use half whole wheat flour or even 100% whole wheat flour.
So they learn about flour and what constitutes dividing it in proportions. So they learn a lot of math skills too.
They do. And often you'll hear, what is 1/4 plus 1/4? You know, is that a half a cup? So you're teaching measurement, math skills, science, and baking. So you have the kids roll out the tortillas, and then the older kids or the volunteers can help.
Because you do want the griddle hot,
yes,
very hot.
Bake them. And it only takes a few minutes. So it's a fast activity for a short period of time. And then, of course, children like quesadillas. So I always bring along some cheese, and they can make some quesadillas and have a little treat.
Dip some salsa in it, and they've really created that tortilla that has become now a quesadilla.
Yes, so that's a fun activity. Now, since they like making tortillas in a bag, they will also like making the bread in a bag. And again, all the ingredients are added in a bag, and they actually work it and knead it in the bag, so there's not too much mess here. They work in teams of 3, so that means each of them will get to take home.
Oh, because it makes 3 loaves, I see.
A little loaf of bread.
Gosh, so what beautiful bread.
Of course, children like to take home the bread that they made, so it's really important that they sign their name on a piece of paper, and we just kind of tuck that in or tuck it by the loaf of bread. And of course, I have found too, Sheryl, with this activity, make sure you have plenty of volunteers, because this does take about 2 to 2.5 hours. And so if you can get some mothers to come in and help, that just makes it a little bit smoother.
So it's 2 to 2.5 hours from start to finish.
Yes.
So, and most kids are only in a class 50 minutes or something like that. But once you get it shaped and in the pan and it's ready, what do you do to entertain them while it's baking?
Of course, we talk about wheat production. I'll bring some wheat stalks along and show them actually where the wheat berry comes from. We can rub some of these wheat heads and out comes the wheat berries, and then talk about milling the wheat berry into flour, what whole wheat flour is, and then if you have time, you can read a book. I love the Little Red Hen book because that just tells the whole story. And so there's a variety of different books that you can read to them. And I also like to show production pictures because so many children now are not involved with a farm. Maybe their grandparents live on a farm, but show them pictures of what the wheat looks like when it's green, and then as it turns golden, and then harvest
how it's harvested.
Many cannot tell you what a combine is. You know, they might say that's a tractor. So you explain to them what the combine does. And then often I will bring a bushel basket of wheat into the classroom so they can actually see what a bushel of wheat is and how many loaves of bread it will make and how many pounds of pasta. So there's lots of things you can do while the dough rises.
Well, and you can talk about the price of wheat and how it varies and how hard farmers have to work to get that bushel.
Yes. And also with this activity, you can get the school food service kitchen staff involved.
Because so they could do the baking maybe.
Yes. You'll have to line that up ahead of time. Or it's a great activity for like summer camps too, after school programs. And we've also done this with a lot of 4-H'ers over the years.
I think it's a great program. And I have to ask you about pretzels. How many zillion pretzels have you made in your life? Do you have any idea?
I've worked with our Wheat Commission for about 25 years. And so I've given a lot of programs, and I've made hundreds or had kids make hundreds and hundreds of pretzels.
And that's fun for kids to make because we see them in malls and different places ready to eat. But how did they get that interesting shape? So that's fun. And
they can easily use this dough that they make in the bread in the bag to make pretzels too. So
another use for it. Well, I think it's wonderful that you're doing this in educational activities for children. And like you say, so many people aren't raised on the farm anymore, and but they're interested in it.
Yes, and if we can just educate people about where our food comes from, I think that's a real service to not only our wheat producers and farmers, but to our consumers.
I think so too. Well, thank you very much, Cindy.
Thank you.
Claire, not only did you bring your beautiful painted sewing machine, you brought some fleece fabric, which I think we all love to work with, but it's kind of hard for some people.
Yes, because it stretches this way, it stretches this way, it stretches that way, and it really stretches that way.
I guess that's part of the beauty of it once you get something made, a blanket or pajamas or a bedspread or whatever, but it sure is hard to sew on, isn't it?
Yes, and it's just really soft and wonderful for babies. And so how do we handle it? How do we actually sew with it? That's why most patterns don't teach you to sew with it at all. It's just cut, 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 and then you've got to
tie it or something.
But yeah, and that kind of gets boring after a while.
Let's look at, you have a product called, let's see, it's Stick and Rinse. Let's show it right here, because if people are in a store, they'd want to know what to look for. It just looks like a roll of tape.
Right, yeah, and in essence it is. It has a release liner, and the tape itself has a water-soluble adhesive on one side, and it is itself water soluble. And the uniqueness about this is that it doesn't have a bias in it, so it locks the bias on the fabric. So go ahead and...
Now, do you cover every seam? Is that normally how you would do it, or just a strip across?
What you do is, if you have a large, like 3 yards of it, and you want to make a couple baby blankets, then you would tape a square or scallops. No, you don't. You can't tape scallops, can you?
No.
So then you would just take a pin, and you can actually write right over the line that you've drawn, and you can cut.
Oh, on the product.
Right
We're cutting it.
Yeah, and that's why it's wide instead of narrow. And now it's locked in place. See how you can't stretch that?
So, and then
do
we just
whatever
simply
you want
sew
on the
on
edge.
it. I mean, sew on it.
Sew on it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that is what you see here, already fixed on there. Now, polar fleece itself stretches so much that once the tape washes away, there's still that stretchability. And I'm about to put a non-stretchy, really nice, soft chenille yarn.
That is nice.
Yarn is
And
now not just for
that's
knitting.
going to sort of stabilize it too, isn't it? It'll hold the edges tight.
It will.
Or taut anyway.
Or the fabric will stretch and rip the yarn right off.
Oh, okay.
And what this tape is really a stay stitch. And if you know about stay stitches, they don't really do anything, do they?
No, and most of us skip that step anyway.
Right.
But now I think it would be important to point out you have a unique presser foot on there. That's
correct.
It's called sequins and
ribbon.
And ribbon, which is
and it
is
also
what it
does
looks
elastic and all types of yarns and different trims. It's just called sequins and ribbon because it's it's still long. But
and why do they need an accessory guide along with it?
the accessory guides enable you to sew different size of yarns and different types of trims.
Okay, so you might or might not need it for the one that we're sewing on today?
Actually, it's a good thing to always get because some yarns are thicker and some yarns are thinner. If you want to use it primarily for yarn, absolutely, you want the accessory
so we'd have
guides.
that on hand.
And there are attachments that just go on the machine. I do have one on right now. And this holds the yarn in place in a way that as the needle is sewing over it, there's no way it can move out from underneath the needle, even if I spin the fabric around.
So do we set a machine like at a zigzag stitch?
Yes, a zigzag stitch based on the width of the yarn.
Oh, okay.
But back to the stay stitch, we do still want to do a stay stitch on the edge.
On top of the rinse.
tape.
Okay,
yes.
on top of the
and
tape.
then it's a zigzag stitch. One needle swings over to the left, one to the right, and this nut allows you to adjust it for your sewing machine. So by turning that nut, we're actually moving the yarn over.
Oh, you aren't going to hold that?
No, you never have to actually hold on to the trim. And you normally would be sitting like this and pulling from behind and trying to guide in front and wondering if you're ever going to get done with what you're doing. But with this, you're able to simply...
So it positions it. All you've got to do is keep the fabric on the machine.
Right. And then when you're done, do not try to tear that away because the stitch is a really long stitch and it will rip with the tape. So this does need to be washed or soaked and then rinsed. And then
so
once
it's
you're
water
done,
soluble, it'll just disappear?
Correct. The adhesive and the tape remove and allow you to end up with a soft look. Like here I still have some of the tape on, but I think I had some rinse.
Well, and of course, obviously a blanket like this will be washed many times.
And it takes only a few minutes to go all the way around, so you could make 4 baby blankets in less than a half an hour.
And I noticed you didn't even round the corners, so with this you can make a exact point?
Yes, and you don't have to lower the needle.
Okay, yeah, that's always important.
Because the yarn becomes your left and right swing of the needle, so you're not having to check your needle position. And then when you're finished, you're going to cut the yarn and pull it out, and all you're left with after you wash is a soft baby blanket that you can give to the next baby in your life.
Oh, and you can
there
never
we
have
go.
too many blankets.
This one's
oh
all
my gosh,
been
this
removed.
one's
Isn't that
beautiful.
cool?
It is.
And you can use a yarn that complements or contrasts to add accent to the edge.
Well, how easy is this?
Yeah.
This is great. Well, thank you so much for showing us how to do this.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks so much for being with us today, Connie. I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to do because you're sort of known for having recipes that don't require a lot of ingredients. They're fast and easy to make, and that may come from your years of working with the electric company when you used to do your festive foods programs everywhere.
Well, that's kind of the way I am. I don't ever spend a lot of time when I cook on one item at least. So I think everybody kind of has that same problem that they need to do things that are kind of fast. One of the convenience things that I found that works really well is frozen rolls, because I don't know about you, but I love bread.
Oh, I do too.
And it smells so good when it's cooking. And those are such a convenience because you just thaw them let them rise, and they're ready to put in the oven.
It cuts out all the work
It
because
does.
you just set it aside at 3, 5, 10, however many you want.
Right, and it takes 3 to 5 hours if you do it the traditional way. They have a speed method, or I've been letting them thaw in my refrigerator overnight and then taking them out.
I've never tried that.
So
I'm
that
going
works
to.
real good for me. But again, we think, okay, rolls, that's what we can do with them. But we're going to do a pizza today, and I've taken a dozen rolls and spread it out into my pizza pan.
After they were thawed, you went ahead and let them thaw
Right,
completely.
they were just thawed but not risen. And I poked holes in it with a fork so that it wouldn't bubble up too much. And but we're going to make a pesto to go over it.
I love pesto.
And I think that'll be good. And we think of usually basil when we think of pesto, but we all love cilantro in this part of the country, so we're going to use cilantro.
So if you
to
have an
go
herb
in
garden, you're really in luck. You can make it both ways.
Right. And this is a couple of cups of cilantro. I started to say pesto. And we're going to put some Bertolli olive oil in here. And then we're going to add lemon juice, some jalapeno pepper.
Adjusted according to your family.
That's right. Some garlic, pine nuts or walnuts. Either one, you could put those in
Oh,
here.
you can substitute walnuts because sometimes I don't find the pine nuts.
Right.
But the walnuts work just as
It
well.
would work too, just as well.
Okay.
So we'll put this in here and should be able just to process it real quickly. We'll just pulse it. And so this will be ready to be our topping on the pizza, which we always think about having the, tomato-based type things. But, pesto is something that you could make ahead and freeze. So in the summer, if you do have a garden and you've got fresh basil or cilantro growing in your garden, you would be able to use that to
all year round,
to freeze it.
Yeah.
And then I learned last night, if you will put just a small amount of olive oil on top of it when you put it in the jar, it will keep it from turning dark.
Oh.
Because sometimes these herbs will start to turn dark.
I've never saved it or made enough. I used it immediately, but that is a good point. And again, if you've got the blender out and you're going to the trouble to make sure you have all the ingredients, why not make an extra batch?
That's right. And like right now, I have lots of basil in my garden, so it's fixing to not, be there, and I would be able to preserve some of that. We're going to take some chicken, and you could use chicken that you cut up and cooked, maybe with a taco seasoning or something on it. But this was the grilled chicken that was frozen. You could use leftover chicken or a deli chicken. That would be another thing that you could use for that. But we'll put that on our pizza. Add our Colby Jack cheese to go on top of it. Doesn't this look good?
It does. This is a very hearty pizza.
It is. And then tomatoes.
You just have to use your hands if you want to distribute it well.
And some green onion. So now that would cook for about 15 minutes, and just to melt the cheese and heat the ingredients, and it's ready.
And it's ready to go.
It is.
Wow, that looks beautiful.
So we'll set that aside so we can do another thing that I think you're really going to like, and I'm just going to let you mix that one up. It's a mango salsa.
This is mango that we've already got in there, about a cup maybe?
It's just a whole mango is what it is. And we've got about a half a cup of red onion. It is avocado mango salsa. So that's 2 avocados. And then we will put the lime juice, actually, and some cilantro on top of it, or kind of mix it in. And we're going to put it on this beautiful piece of salmon that I cooked. It is a piece of California wild-caught salmon, and it's just gorgeous. It's thick. It's it's easy to find. Sometimes we find it frozen or fresh, depending on what our market is, and it's really easy to cook.
And well, and I was going to say it's fast, and the hard part is to not overcook it, I think, in my opinion.
And I just put it under on my broiler pan and cooked it at 400 degrees. And there's a glaze that goes with it, but you could also brush it with olive oil and then use this Italian glaze, which is like a balsamic reduction.
Oh.
So it's made with balsamic vinegar.
So it's a little thicker.
And you can just drizzle a little bit of this over, if you were going to plate this or something, that would also be very
pretty.
attractive, or drizzle it on your plate. But doesn't this make a pretty dish here that we
You're
can...
just going to put it around it and a little bit, then over it. Gosh, that doesn't take any time to...
We don't want to cover up that pretty piece of salmon, do we?
For those of us who don't live where seafood is readily available, we really do appreciate having it.
So that's just a real simple, really refreshing way to serve the salmon with the fruit to go with it. And
that's
again,
a good
it's
combination.
Just a really quick meal that we could make.
Okay. Well, I think sometimes just thinking of different ways to use things, and that's what we're going to do here. A pasta salad's just one of the easiest things in the world to make.
To it, this has salt, sugar, and some crushed red pepper. And then we're going to add garlic to it. And this is just going to be our dressing.
Oh.
We're going to use a white wine vinegar to go in it. So we'll put some of that. And the white vinegar will just give it a lot prettier color to it instead of one of the darker vinegars. So we could use red wine vinegar, and then we'll use some Bertolli olive oil as well to go with it. And so it'll just make it really a light, not a mayonnaise based or some type of salsa to go with it. Or
Gosh, this type of dressing could go on just the fresh greens or anything.
Yeah, doesn't that look and smell good?
Yeah, I can smell it.
Yeah, that does look good. And we can just pre-cook our pasta. You could do this the night before and chill it, and that would be an easy way.
Time.
Or this would be a good one that the flavors would just kind of blend if you made it the night before, if you needed to do that.
Make this entire salad?
I think you could.
Oh, could. Well, you know, it probably would because of the flavors.
We'll put tomatoes, so it's just a lot of tomato too to go with it, not the way we usually think. And we're going to add some fresh basil to it to go with it, and stir that in.
So we're making use of all those things that we're growing in our gardens, and it's fresh right now. So many of it we can freeze and have on hand.
And then we're also going to sprinkle it with some breadcrumbs. And I purchased breadcrumbs, but you could make your own, whatever you wanted to do. So if we made this ahead, I would wait until the last, you know, to put your breadcrumbs on there. And then we'll put a little bit more of that little basil on there, and it's ready to go.
Ready to go.
Isn't it a beautiful salad?
Well, it really is, and I was just thinking how much prettier the pizza shape is using the breads than when it's all just plain.
Right.
So some new ways to use some products. I've always just used the rolls as bread.
As bread. And
this
then
is great.
The salmon, and like I said, we've got our little Southwest flair to it with the peppers
jalapenos,
and the mango and the avocado too. So I think
these
we
look
really like
good
that.
enough to eat. I think we're ready to.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Connie.
you.
Appreciate you coming today.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn how to use some inks in crafting. We'll talk about losing weight and feeling better, and discuss the growing of pumpkins and gourds. One of my next guests will give a rundown on vertigo and what it is, explain how the optical effects are achieved. She'll show samples of what it can be used for, and show how to create custom designs with both vertigo and Sucaniko inks. Another guest is a registered dietitian, and she says that people always ask her how they can feel better and lose weight. They're often surprised by her answer. She'll discuss her 4 top tips, and she says that real weight loss comes from a real plan. And we'll also talk to a gardener, and he's going to talk about how to grow pumpkins and gourds and share some usage tips as well. We'll also learn how to identify the various products. All of these topics will be featured on the next Creative Living show. If you ever have comments or suggestions or ideas for shows, you can email me at sheryl.borden@enmu.edu. I'd also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and in the search window type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much. I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We are very pleased to offer you a new booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. This booklet is titled the 6900 series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information, and it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this new booklet, go to our website at KENW.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on this booklet or on any of the other booklets that we have available online. We also would like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter. Just go to KENW.org and click on the Sign Up Now button. Thank you.